to Survive and Advance on the Gruely True Sports Network. Survive and Advance is brought to you by the Sheridan Report. So if you want a little edge when you go in to play the games, to bet the games, make sure you check out the Sheridan Report at Sheridan Report on Twitter or thesheridanreport.com on the internet. I am your co-host for Survive and Advance, Mike Goodpaster. Right now I'd like to welcome in 1981 national champion, 1979 National Invitational Tournament champion, 1977 Indianapolis Hinkle regional champion. Almost at semi-state, but they lost to a team with a bunch of kids under 6
Okay, that's enough. That's enough.
Also, a member of the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame, which will show you if you're willing to grease the right palms, you can be a Hall of Famer. Help me welcome to the show, Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
I'm doing great, and here's the deal. You know, if you want a little edge from Bobby, you want a little edge, I'll tell you what, you're an idiot if you don't bet with him because the guy's making money. I mean, Bobby, what is your record now? What is your record with us now?
Oh, Steve, I haven't really
just
been...
off the top of your head, 30-5 or something like that?
Oh, no. I mean, I've lost a couple games here recently and that I talked about on the air, but it's probably 31-32-12 or something. Who knows? It's
okay, so
like
if I had taken $100 for every bet that and laid down $100 on every bet, I would probably be sitting pretty right now, right? I'd be a positive cash flow.
You'd probably be up a couple thousand, maybe 1,800
there you go.
or something
See?
like that.
So it's not a little edge. It's almost close enough to a sure bet. And there are no sure bets. I get that. But I mean, your research and the way you dig into things and how you do this is, again, I'm not a big gambler, but it's phenomenal how many times you are right. And when I listen to you spill out your bones on the show at the end, and I go back and then the game plays out just as you say it's going to play out. And again, the most amazing, and you're my hero because you picked Denny Hamlin. And I would have never picked Denny Hamlin to win that race. And I don't think you know a hell of a lot about NASCAR, but somehow you researched it enough to know it was his turn. And,
well, that's
that's not luck. That's karma.
I appreciate you saying that. And something I want to bring up along those lines, I get talked about this by a lot of people. And, the ATP has been a really good thing for us. And that's part of what we call the Early Risers program, because a lot of those matches take place at 4 a.m. and 6 a.m., on the West Coast. And, and look, I didn't know a whole lot about tennis, playing it, how you grip a racket and all. I mean, almost nothing. But all I know was that when I started diving into these matchups and started watching these tournaments and started handicapping, you don't have to have played baseball in order to be a guy that can handicap baseball, or in this instance, tennis. It's handicapping and information and are two different things, and I just feel like that's been a natural for me. Has been the ATP and money line wagering in general, which is what baseball is, and that's always my best sport in terms of making money, and it just kind of rolled over. So you're right. I don't know about Camber, and I will by tonight because I've done my research. But you pose that question to me. I don't know a whole lot about all the intricacies like a car person would, but that car person is not going to be able to pick the winners after the way I will handicapping. So it's two different things.
Bobby,
yeah.
And I'll give it back to Mike here after this statement. I know all about Camber, and I picked Kevin Harvick. Which shows being smart sometimes works against you.
That's true.
Mike, take over the show, please. What are we talking about today?
We're going to talk about the AAF, which saw success in its first week. But for the past 50 years, every attempt to start a new professional football league has faced the same problem. We know that football is by far the most popular sport in this country, but there is simply no evidence that enough people want to spend time watching a minor league version of it in the spring, Steve. And I wanted to bring up Michael Waddell was supposed to be our guest today. He couldn't make it for whatever reasons. Hopefully everything's all right and nothing bad happened there. and I think Orlando and San Antonio, from what I've seen, have done this right. But yesterday, Steve, we had some rumors start. And you want to go over that about the payroll situation in the AAF, because I know you've done a lot of background, a lot of research on this, which is the first time in a year Steve's done any research for a show. But you wanted to let the listeners know what was going on there?
Well, I mean, it just comes out of the blue yesterday that Tom Dundon, who recently is the newest owner in the NHL, bought the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah.
Really has no active role in managing the team. Pretty much just invested and got the majority ownership. Had been a minority owner in the team for a while. Has a background pretty diverse that does not include a lot of sports. Other than he owns a golf club, and he's an investor in the Top Golf, which I think most everybody in the world knows about Top Golf now and the entertainment value it provides. Big into healthcare. Owns a lending firm out of Dallas. And he all of a sudden invests $250 million into the league out of the blue. I don't even believe, does he own a franchise? I don't think he even owns a team, does he?
In the AAF?
AAF, yeah.
No,
he didn't own a team in the AAF.
$250 million, and they made him the chairman.
To get chairman, which, okay, and that becomes a little scary right there. And you got a guy who's not necessarily well-versed in sports management, sports ownership at that level. Because apparently it's widely reported he has no direct management interest like Cuban does. Cuban pretty well runs, the Mavericks. I mean, they have a CEO, but Cuban kind of dictates what that does. I mean, Jerry Jones runs what the Cowboys do. You look at, Steinbrenner ran what the Yankees did. So, but he has no real direct interest as far as I could view. So now you're putting him in charge of the league. So is the league just wanting his $250 million, or do they want his expertise because the league is doing well enough and they think that this guy can take this league to the next level? I haven't found a lot of support that backs up the fact that they brought him on board because he can elevate the cause of the league. The league has, Charlie Ebersol is not an idiot. He's been involved in sports for a long time. Bill Pullian is one of the highest regarded general managers in the NFL, former one. You got some great coaches, Spurrier and Singletary. You got a lot of good football minds involved in this league. Why Tom Dundon? Why does he come in now with a big paycheck and all of a sudden come in? Now, the league appears to be refuting the story that this was not a financial bailout at all, that this was a little bit more of just some guy wanting to invest in the league because the league was being so profitable. There were reports, and Mike, I think you said you had heard reports from people that are in the league that said they were delayed in getting paid.
Yeah.
Their paycheck after week one. Their story is that they changed payroll providers. This is from the AAF. Their story was they had changed payroll providers, and that there was a delay because of that. Now, I would think that most anybody they're going to go to is going to be, one of these big that's going to be able to fix this, and there will be no delay in pay structure. I just moved my bank accounts from an Indiana bank to a California bank, and I took all my direct deposits, and they did that overnight, and there was no issue there or problem, and it was all taken care of. They're dealing with a few more people, I get that, but still, anybody that they're going to work with, I think, would have a system in place to handle that. So that's their story. I have yet to find a source that has said anything other than the fact that this is somewhat of a, I don't want to say financial disaster, but it's a, they had to reinvest early into the season, and we're season one, and you have to look at it. The first week of the AAF, there was really no competition. There was really no competition.
It was also on regular CBS. It was on regular
right. It was on
network.
Regular CBS. Yeah. It was on regular network, so they had all the reason to succeed. I think they drew like a 2.9 rating in the first week, somewhere there, which is a good number for them. It was, and the football. I watched one of the games, and the game was actually entertaining to watch. It was clean. It was well run. I didn't know any of the players by any stretch of the imagination, but it also, I think, NASCAR, blew them out of the water. In the second week, they came in, and NASCAR draws, increases its ratings and draws them. And now you're coming into a situation now where we've got all of a sudden, for some reason, a $250 million investment into the league. You've got now other sports coming up. You got golf getting into full swing. You got Major League Baseball starting up now. NASCAR is now on the map.
March Madness.
Pardon?
March Madness.
March Madness is coming. Yeah, in 3 weeks we got March Madness. I mean, think about that. When I look at their schedule, they're going to be playing till April 27th. They're going to face some real hardships television-wise that they didn't face the first week on that 2.8, 2.9 rating.
And the biggest hardship still, Steve, is this. If you get a 0.9 rating and you're on TNT or you're on NFL Network, that's probably about the equivalent of a 2 if you're on a network.
Yeah.
But they're not on network TV. And this is going to kill them without being on there. And the other thing is this. Outside of CBS Sports Network, ESPN ignores this league except for what happened the other day. You know?
Right.
Pretty much everybody
here's
ignores
the thing.
this league.
Just to show you some other numbers, UFC outdrew them. UFC, and I don't watch UFC at all. I know, Mike, you're a fight fan, so I don't know if you watch UFC or not.
No.
Okay,
but
Tennessee, Kentucky doubled them. The NBA All-Star Game, which is the biggest joke in the world, quadrupled them. NASCAR blew them out of the water. So on a weekend when you've got a lot of, you got a good basketball game, a limited sports thing like UFC, which I think there's a niche market for that. I get that. NASCAR is a regional sport now, Bobby. We've talked about that before, but still they increased their ratings. And you got an NBA All-Star Game that everybody in the world thinks is a joke. And they're at the bottom of the heap already.
What were the ratings on the NBA All-Star Game?
3.9, which is actually good. I'm surprised. I don't know who showed the NBA All-Star Game. What channel was it on? I don't even know.
I didn't watch it.
TNT?
No,
I didn't watch it.
Yeah, I believe
Probably.
Bobby,
I believe it was TNT. I didn't watch it either.
Yeah,
Once
TNT.
again,
Yeah. So again,
it's not on
to
network
draw
TV.
3.9 on TNT is pretty damn good.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but once again, when we look at this, Steve, the reason, and I can tell you this coming from coaching in leagues like this, indoor football, arena football, whatever they tell you, there's a problem with the money, or it'll be there. You know, I remember coaching a game at Freedom Hall back in 2013, where after the game, the owner of my team comes up and hands me a check and says, "Don't cash this till Friday." And right then, I know.
That's like me with my rent check.
Yeah, like 3 weeks from now, there's not going to be any more checks because this team's going to fold. And, of course, that's what happened. And when they say that they were changing providers, as you say, when you change a provider, 24 hours, it should be ready to go. And the other thing is this. If this was going to happen and you want this league to look legitimate and you know you're changing providers, why would you just not put out a statement to the press saying, hey, we are changing providers, the guys are going to get paid 2 or 3 days later? And then when it happens, nobody can say there was some shady shit going down. But the problem is, when you're not when you're not being transparent, which this league is not, there's a problem. I mean, this is the thing. The XFL.
But, Mike, the NFL's not transparent either. So, I mean, the NFL's not
I know,
transparent
but this
either.
is the thing.
You and I both know that.
The difference is this.
Yeah.
The NFL doesn't have to be because everybody wants to watch the NFL.
Because they're the phone company. We're AT&T. We don't care. We don't have to. Yeah, we don't have to care.
When you're the XFL or the NFL, you have to be transparent. Now, I don't think there's a chance in hell that we could get the commissioner of the AAF on. But we've had Oliver Luck on, 2 or 3 times, and he'll be on again within the next couple weeks. So when I look at it, they don't have to have in the XFL a Tom Dundon come drop a lot of money on them because they're already coming from a place with a lot of money in Vince McMahon. So I don't know if the XFL will work or not.
Mike, let me ask you,
I don't know if spring football will work, but go ahead.
Let me ask you that, Mike, because and we have a good relationship with the XFL and with Oliver Luck, but they've committed $500 million in the first 2 years. Isn't that what their commitment was?
I think it's the first 4 years.
First 4, okay. And Dundon's got to put $250 million into this league on the second week.
Yeah.
And their salaries, the AAF's salaries are going to be lower than the XFL salaries. I mean, how realistic is the XFL?
When you've got already $500 million in it, when you've already got $500 million in it, you can absorb losses and you have a chance to build your brand. All right, it's just
but they don't have the backing of CBS. CBS is paying something
we don't
to the
know.
AAF.
No, I don't think they are. I don't think CBS is paying them anything. CBS only had one game on. Now, I don't know what the AAF contract is, but I know, like the Arena Football League, they used to pay for their time. And I don't know. Let's do a little search here and see what the AAF TV contract gives them, because I'm betting it's not.
Yeah, I was
going
to look that up too, but you're faster than me at that.
Yeah, I can spell.
Bobby, jump in here at any time, or don't jump in. And AAF CBS.
Go ahead, Bobby.
You know. Here's my deal.
I think these are all great points you're bringing up about the volatility still of the league. Even with the NFL's.
Well, and I don't mind the volatility, because this is brutal to try and start a league when you're going against the NFL, which is the dinosaur with the fire breath. In the war, it's like Game of Thrones. I got 3 of them.
But that's why
I want to. But I don't like the smoke and guns cover up. It's like, our expectations where we could do it here, and of course that's propaganda. They're not going to say that. I get that, but when they come out and try and tell you that it's because they made a change in the payroll adjustment, and that's why players didn't get paid.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
On time, they got paid. I think they all got paid.
Yeah, they got paid, but it was not what it was supposed to be.
Not what it's supposed to be. So did that $250 million cover those paychecks? There's the $10 question.
Well, $250 more than
we don't know when he wrote the check. We don't know when he wrote the check.
But
we know when they announced he wrote the check.
My guess is that they were in the middle of changing, and then they found Dundon, and then they could actually change it. That would.
They could change it, yeah. And he wrote a check real quick and wire transferred $250 million into the account of the payroll department, and they dished out checks real quick.
All right, now here's my question. Here's my question. When I look at this, the investors for this league to start off with were supposed to be Peter Thiel's, the Founders Fund. They were the first investors in SpaceX. The Kerman Group, Barstool Sports, Fox's New Girl, Sheridan Group have investments in both entertainment, which is New Girl, which I guess is a TV show, and media with Barstool Sports. The Alliance, so when you look at this, they were supposed to have investors already coming in. So why were they out of money already? My guess
that's really weird.
The investors were not big enough, is my guess.
Well, they didn't have the money. Well, how does Barstool Sports have that kind of money to throw into a?
But they don't.
Football.
It's who owns Barstool Sports, who bought them, is the one to put the money in.
Okay.
And Barstool Sports, I think they've got a streaming thing, a way to do that now. But when I look at this and I look up the TV contract, I don't see any numbers with the TV contract.
No, I'm looking at it too. I don't see anything. So I don't know who owns who. I don't know if, I guess probably it's looking more like the AAF is probably paying a fee to the CBS to get their games on television in hopes that they can draw part of the advertising dollar. That would be my opinion. I don't know that CBS, because Ebersol was always with ABC. Wasn't Ebersol with ABC?
Yeah, he was actually involved with the first go at the XFL. And everybody talks about the 2.9 and how great that was, but the XFL's rating was over at 10, correct? Their first game?
On the first week, their first week, 10.3 in 2001. But then they had a lot of hype. McMahon hyped the shit out of it, and McMahon's a genius at hyping. I mean, if there's anything Vince McMahon is great at, it's there's no more profitable thing in the world than the WWE. He makes a ton of money off that. He sells out every seat he can. Next to that, and then monster truck races. Two greatest sporting events in the world to go in an arena. And I've been to both, and I love them both. So, but yeah, I don't like the second weekend of this thing. The all of a sudden the change of tack, the change of venue, and the smoke and mirrors coming on. And, I dare say it. I'll go ahead and say it. We were directed that if we had Waddell on today, we were not allowed to talk about this topic. from league offices that we were not allowed to ask about this topic. So it was going to be persona non grata had he come on the show. We were not going to. So I'm almost glad he's not on. So we don't have to put him through the ringer and ask why he chose the colors of the uniforms for his team that he did, or if they get free passes to Disney World and Universal in Orlando, things of that nature. But I think we can just talk about the actual facts of this league and where it sits right now.
So basically what you have is this. The average payroll, if the average is $250,000, 3 years, $80,000 a player, that puts your payroll for each team at approximately between $3 and $4 million. With coaching, non-essential personnel, you're looking at probably $4 million a year for each.
Well, and they've got some big name people involved. They got Spurrier, they got Singletary. I mean, they got people that are not going to do this crap for free.
Yeah,
that's true.
And they're paying the coaches.
These are guys that are getting big payrolls on their own. They're getting paid six-figure salaries to be involved in this, however they're involved. Yeah. So this $250 million is not going to last a long time.
I would say with the teams for the year, $50 million. So
trust me, I got a new credit card the other day with. I got a new credit card the other day with $10,000 limit on it. My wife went to Rodeo Drive and ran that shit up real quick.
Yeah, it doesn't take long, and that's what
She had
people
fun
don't
with that
realize.
thing. Yeah, she ran that sucker up real quick.
Maybe that's why Colin Kaepernick asked for so much money. The other thing,
Magic and Enzo got new dog treats, gourmet ones, right?
No, they got groomed by Vanderpump Dogs. Are you kidding me? They went down and got groomed by Lisa Vanderpump herself. Crap. Is there a credit limit on this thing? Is there any balance on it? No. Have at it.
All right. Now the other thing, and this is something I did want to ask the president of the Apollos.
He did not do that.
Was that the Orlando Apollos are going to start practicing in Georgia because of Florida workers' compensation laws. And what that is basically is if you are a professional athlete, unless you are in the NFL, the NHL, MLB, you cannot get workman's compensation for a team. Now, what happens is the NFL, the NHL, all these teams come together, and the league actually buys the workman's comp insurance. But the AAF did not do that. And now what you've got is the team from Orlando must practice in Georgia, so they're going to live in Jacksonville, drive them 30 minutes over to practice in Georgia, so they're covered by workers' comp laws. I mean, that to me is not a professional league.
Okay, so Mike, what happens if they get injured in a game in Orlando?
Well, I would assume that they are
if you get hurt in Georgia, fine. You're under Georgia's laws. Or if you get hurt in Orlando, you're kind of falling under. I mean, it's like NASCAR drivers. They do 36 state tax returns a year because they make money in every state, and they live by different tax laws in every state because if they win money in Charlotte, North Carolina, or they win money in Florida, or they win money in California, they have to file a state income tax law or tax return for that state because Jimmy Johnson's going to win $1.1 million. Golfers are the same way. J.B. Holmes just won the tournament at Pebble Beach. He won $1.3 million. He now has to file a California state tax return.
Yeah, and my question is this.
So that doesn't make sense to me at all.
This is the thing. I don't know the answer to that question because...
Bobby, you got any insight on that? You're an athlete. You played baseball in different sports. You played for the Padres. What's the deal on that?
I don't have any insight on that, Steve.
Yeah, I can tell you this. Indoor football...
Well, I know that to be true.
There's a lot of teams that do not have workman's comp, which they shouldn't even have a team if they do that. Because a lot of states like Kentucky, I know I coached a team in Kentucky, the insurance for workman's comp is outrageous. And they would usually just get some kind of backup insurance for the players that was cheap and didn't really take care of anything. Because in the end, these owners really don't care. And
so,
when you... Well, go ahead.
No. I'll let you. I apologize. I'll let you. I have a question for Bobby. I'll let you finish. I'm sorry.
And the other thing is, I don't know the answer to the question about playing in Orlando. It does say this. It says that if they spend 51% of their time in Georgia, they can be covered by Georgia workers' comp. So maybe if they're there 51% of the time, and Georgia's considered their home base, maybe when they go play a game in Orlando, it'll still cover them. I don't know.
So the players are going to live in Jacksonville.
Yeah, and bus to
Georgia. They're going to bus, or they're going to bus every day or daily, however often they practice. They're going to bus to Georgia, across to Valdosta probably, which is just across the state line.
And then their next game is March 16th, where they will then bus down to play their home game.
But then they have to drive back to Orlando, which is an hour and 20 minutes from
but they've only got, I think,
roughly
one home game in like the next 4 weeks. That's why they're doing this, because they can jump it up to where they can get around 51%. I'm just telling you this.
Okay.
It's not a professional football team like that. That's a joke.
Yeah. So, Bobby, when you were a baseball player for the Padres, correct?
Yeah, I was.
All right. When you got injured, who took care of your bills?
Well, in the season, I got paid by the ball club, and then out of season, I got paid by. So
if you had Tommy John injury or something, just use that because it's something I really know.
Right.
The baseball team took care of your injury. They covered lock, stock, and barrel.
They covered all of it, every bit of it.
Yeah.
And I got all the care that I needed, and I got all the off-season checks.
Yeah.
But those, there was workman's comp.
Mike,
stuff involved.
So, Mike,
there.
that's obviously not happening with this league.
That's what I'm saying. So it's not, because all major leagues usually do a deal for the entire league when it comes to workman's comp, so everybody's covered and they don't have to worry about it. So the workman's comp can get expensive as hell too, especially for a startup.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, I know. When I was at IU, they asked for our family insurance. IU did. I mean, I never paid for anything. I don't know that my parents did. I don't know how the process worked, because I never really got hurt at IU in that way. But Colin had knee surgery, but then there's Steve Offeld, does he donate his time? Do guys donate their time, or what do they do? But I remember them asking my parents for insurance information. I know when I took Ross to Wittenberg to play at Wittenberg, they wanted my insurance information that basically said that any injuries would be covered under your insurance, not by the university. Now, that's a D3 school. Of course, the NCAA is making billions of dollars a year and will not cover insurance for D3 players, although they will sell the rights to show it on ESPN, the tournament and everything like that. And Wittenberg was a 5-time national championship team, so they were on TV quite a bit. But that's NCAA and ESPN. So this is interesting. I mean, it seems like to me it's just a little shaky financially.
Well,
you wonder how long it's going to be here.
It's really bad timing, for them, and it's
it's bad timing.
It does. The bloom kind of came off the rose a little bit, because everything that they touched for a long time was great. I mean, and this was a piece that just came out of nowhere, like. Almost shocking, but I will tell you that there's a lot of spin going on, that is suggesting that the two are not together, in terms of there's a guy named Barrett Sally who is he put out a tweet. He said this whole thing about the AAF being in trouble is ridiculous. It's almost like, and he says, just hear me out, people haven't learned to avoid jumping all over the story immediately without learning the facts. There was a glitch, players got paid, and the league just got $250 million. I mean, kind of Mike's saying that, it's not a bad thing that the $250 million came in. That's ultimately a good thing. And there's a lot of talk about how it was just they're not tied together, but that's their spin. So we don't really know what the truth is on that.
Right.
All I do know is that Michael Waddell, I kind of become, friends with Twitter friends. You know how that works. And we all have Twitter friends that we talk to. He's been a really great and gracious guy. And I'll tell you a story.
Yeah, I thought Dockage and I were Twitter friends, but we're not. So we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, you know how that stuff goes. And Michael was 100% going to come on. And I don't think he would have let me down. He's been a really great guy. And all of a sudden, can't come on, and hopefully he's okay and everything's fine. And it doesn't make him a bad guy that he can't come on. But what it does make him was he told me, he says, this is an issue that we can't be talking about because the league has put the closed mouth on all the, team officials. They want to control the public speaking of this issue.
So the thing is this.
The narrative.
Did the AAF, the guy that runs the AAF, in the last 36 hours, where was his press conference?
None.
Yeah.
I haven't seen one.
None.
Yeah. So if you're going to tell these guys they can't talk
Mike,
about
that's
it,
a great point.
to.
Mike, Jesus Christ, Mike, that's why I say you're a genius. That's a great point. Where has he been?
It is a great point. And
it is, Mike. That's a great point. I hate you, Mike. I hate you.
Most people do. Get in line.
The thing about the grueling truth that I love is that you guys tell it like it is, and we were going to not be able to really ask him about this issue out of respect, and we would have respected that. But the bottom line is maybe it's good karma he's not on because this is what needs to be talked about right now. And
okay,
I'm on
the AAF website right now, and I'm on the news section for the AAF, and there is no mention of this virtually at all on AAF News. They're talking about single
one of
game
two
tickets.
things. They got their money, and they're just going to hope this works out, and they're going to be quiet and never talk about it again, or they're trying to figure out a good story.
Yeah, I'm on their website right now.
It's kind of like when I was little, and we got our report cards on a Friday, and I'd get my report card, and it would be like C's and D's and maybe even an occasional F, because sometimes geniuses are just too smart, to pay attention to what people try to teach them. They want to learn stuff on their own. And I would sit there, and I would try to think up a good story, and I couldn't. So eventually, I would just shut up and hope that my parents didn't realize that I got my report card on Friday. But then my sister would screw it all up because she would come home and say, look at my report card. I got all B's and C's. And I'm like, shit. And then they'd look at me and they'd say, well, didn't you get yours? And I would be like, oh, no, I didn't get mine.
You were like the beaver.
And I was like, oh, well, they had a glitch or something, and we're getting them Monday. And they would say, all right. And then by Monday, I'm getting my ass whipped. So
that's too bad because I brought my report card home on Friday. I got a new bike on Saturday morning. I went to the Schwinn dealership store and got a new bike every Saturday morning. My report card came out.
But all right, we want to switch topics and go to the on this day.
Are we done with this? Sure. We beat this thing into the ground. Is there anything else we can add to it?
Yeah, because we don't know what's going on. But the problem to me
we don't know. We don't know.
Everybody should know.
My last. I have not found a credible news source yet who has not said this is not financial pressure. Not anybody. I mean, I understand we don't trust any of them to 100%, but generally what you find is when there's smoke, there's fire. And right now, if you go on the website and you just put in AAF $250 million donation or contribution or investment, everything comes up that they're in financial problems. And what that means, who knows? I don't know what CBS's commitment is to them, and maybe CBS bails them out. I don't know. But CBS has golf coming up.
Yeah, CBS.
They're in the heart of golf season now.
I think the only game CBS has left that they're showing is the championship game.
Oh, so they're done now?
Yeah, they've only
where are the
shown
rest
the
of the
first
games
game
being
in the
shown?
championship. NFL Network and TNT Bleacher Report.
Okay, let me ask you this, Mike. Let's just close with this. Bobby or Mike, either one. How much of this, because one of the reports I saw was that this is kind of like scout team players getting opportunity to get showcased for NFL teams. How soon does the NFL get involved into this? How soon does the NFL get involved in this to say, you know what, we're gonna get a year's foothold and fight the XFL, and just kind of shut them out of the loop to begin with, because McMahon's got the money to do it. He'll get the owners, and they're in the NFL. They're just hoping that the NFL comes in and says, we'll fund this league, we'll make it our practice squad league. Is that what's going on here, Mike?
It could, but the NFL, if you remember, they had NFL Europe, which originally was the WLAF, the World League of American Football, that played for around a decade. And the NFL ended up stopping because it was just costing them too much money. I mean, because basically,
right,
you're pissing away a lot of money when you try to play spring
right.
football if you don't do it correctly. Now, whether the XFL is doing it correctly is yet to be seen because we're still over a year away. But the thing I will give the XFL is this. They announced last year they basically had a 3-year plan before they played. The AAF, I think, has been in talks for a couple years. But I don't think – I just think this was more thrown together than what the XFL is. And if you don't go into this with the proper business plan, you end up having to have somebody buy in for $250 million the first week. So I would say this. From looking at it, I don't know that spring football ever works. But if it ever works, it's going to be a place that has a lot of money and plans it out correctly and has the proper commissioner. Who is the commissioner of the AAF? Is that Bill Polian?
No, I just, you know what? I went back. I was just on the website. Let's go back. They have their board of directors. AAF.
Yeah, I got a fun story while Steve's looking that up.
All righty.
Can I share the fun story, Mike?
Sure.
There was as I was tweeting with Michael Waddell, the president of the Orlando team, and he.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead, Steve. Did you get it?
No. Go ahead. Finish your story. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. It's a quick story, and it's just a small little blurb, but you know how owners will have fun bets, or whatever, with their opponent coming up on the next game, and so these two guys, Michael Waddell and a guy named Kosha Irby, who's the team president for Memphis, who Orlando's playing this week. They were trying to come up with a friendly bet, so because they had losing president will buy my staff lunch, but what's something fun we could do? And for some reason, whatever time they were tweeting, I was on Twitter and I was getting all this stuff, and I said, well, why doesn't if Orlando loses, then their president, Michael, who's my friend on Twitter, and he's got to dress up as Elvis, and if Memphis if Orlando wins, then the Memphis guy's got to dress up with Mickey Mouse ears, and they both agreed to do it. So the losing president's going to be dressed up as something, and after that game during the post game, and it's going to be on. They're going to put it on the television, on the Twitter to see after. That's kind of interesting. It's kind of a funny little blurb.
All right, and doesn't it happen between every mayor of every big NFL team too, where they bet crawfish against Kansas City State?
Not anymore. That's only in like Super Bowls and stuff. That was more of an '80s thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
that's
that's
kind of an 80s thing.
So Mike,
I like
okay.
80s
Here's
things,
the
by the way. But go ahead.
I love 80s things. I love 70s things better. I love Saturday Night Fever. Great movie.
That movie.
That music. I still listen to that music all the time.
The
Michael
music
Jackson,
is great, but the movie is stupid.
Yeah, I know but the music made the movie, so don't worry about it. Charlie Ebersol is the CEO, co-founder. Bill Polian, head football co-founder. They don't have a commissioner per se. J.K. McKay, football operations. Troy Polamalu, he cut his hair off. Jesus Christ, all his hair is gone. How good is that? Heinz Ward, director of football, player development. I mean, they've got a good bunch of people here.
Yeah, but do you guys remember the United Football League?
I don't even know. I don't remember that.
Exactly. That was like 5 years ago. They had a cable contract. They tried to play for a couple of years. It didn't work out either because they weren't planned out well enough either. And all those guys put together, I don't think is as intelligent as Oliver Luck anyways. And that's not saying the XFL is going to make it. I'm just saying by the way this is designed and the time they're taking, I think beats what looks to me like it was thrown together half-ass. And that's why you've got to have $250 million infusion after just 2 weeks. And
2 weeks, yeah.
And it may be possible that something happened with the bank, and that's what delayed it. I'm just going from my own experience in indoor and arena football, and I'm just saying that that's usually not true.
Generally, these payroll businesses get it right, and they know what they're doing. Like I said, that there would generally not be a delay. And if the funds are available, you just transfer it's a simple wire transfer to change where the money is coming from and where it's going to, then its distribution, and they would be set up. That that's a smokescreen to me. Mike, XFL, the league is going to, they're owning their own, the league's going to retain ownership of the teams, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. What is the AAF? Are these franchises or
no? That's why you
AAF?
got team presidents. The AAF owns them all. But see, I think this, from what I've seen with the XFL, and hopefully the AAF's the same way, is if these teams become viable after a year or two, you can then bring money in for the XFL or the AAF by maybe selling these franchises to individuals that want to pay out the ass for them. So,
but stabilize them first.
Yeah, you stabilize them first. But to stabilize them first, you got to have the money to take losses. And, well, maybe that solves the AAF
Ebersol have
problem
the money
now.
that McMahon does,
No, they don't.
Ebersol make pulling? They don't. McMahon's got the money to stabilize his teams and get the costs under control out of his own pocket, or have the WWE
and
fund.
There's nobody that's better at marketing things than Vince McMahon. He has basically taken something. I mean, wrestling, WWE, WWF, what was it ever called, was basically a bunch of regional sports separate from each other. And I think he's the one that brought them all together and formed the WWF, which then turned into, of course, the WWE. So he has basically tricked millions of adults into paying money for something that is fixed. So,
it's fake.
You know what? When you think about
it, fun. It's fun.
When you think about it, though, it should be easier to sell a sport that's real. I would hope, but maybe not anymore.
Maybe not.
Yeah,
I mean, one of the best TV shows on TV is Glow, Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. It's a derivative of the WWE, and it's one of the most popular shows on TV. I mean, it's got great. I mean, it wins awards on the Emmys and things. Glow does. It's a great show. It's right off the derivative of the WWE. That's how good McMahon is at what he's doing. I think the only savior here for the AAF, in my feeble opinion right now, is if the NFL steps in and says, we're going to make this our G League.
Yeah, and they could.
And we're going to fund it. They could do that very well.
The fact that it's on the NFL Network tells me that they considered it. Because I don't think I don't think there's much chance that the NFL is ever going to show an XFL game on the NFL Network.
No, not at all.
That's not happening. Yeah, because the XFL doesn't want to be a feeder league, at least from talking to Oliver Luck. And see, that's the thing.
Right.
I think that's another drawback. I think I've talked about this to you and Bobby. The thing that worries me here is the XFL is separating itself from the NFL. The AAF is trying to, connect with the NFL.
Join it.
And
connect with it.
That automatically makes it a minor league sport. It just does. The XFL
I think their mission
compete.
statement kind of, their mission. I read their mission statement, and it kind of alluded to the fact that they, it came out in interpretation that they basically want to become kind of the playing arena for the practice squads.
Yeah, the AAF. I don't want to watch
AAF,
practice squad football. And this is the thing. The first weekend.
Nobody's going to pay to go see that either.
And if you remember, I brought this up, but the first weekend the ratings were really good. And that was basically Super Bowl euphoria. The season just ended. People wanted to watch football. They watched it. This week, not so much. And I can tell you in my own case,
golf.
I watched the second half of Orlando and San Antonio, and I thoroughly thought it was a hell of a football game. But I went back and I watched, like on YouTube, they've got like a channel that shows like 15-minute game highlights, which is most of the game. And outside of Orlando, San Antonio, I just didn't see where the quality of play was good enough for me to waste my time watching it. And coaching-wise, Kevin Coyle coaches Atlanta. He's an idiot. Mike Singletary coaches Memphis. He's an idiot. Great football player, though. But overall, what they've got is, I think Steve Spurrier was a genius hire, because Steve Spurrier, basically made his career because of bandit ball in Tampa Bay in the USFL 1983, 4, and 5. And the thing about him is he comes out, he plays an exciting brand of football. They spread it out, they throw it all over. You get all kind of, trick plays, which we saw in the first week when they threw a touchdown pass to the quarterback. And I think Orlando and San Antonio have decent quarterbacks. I think the kid from Orlando could stick in the NFL this time around. I think Logan Woodside with San Antonio has a chance to be good. But overall, there's just not enough quarterbacks to go around in this league. So my hope is with the XFL, maybe they can put a little bit more money into the quarterback situation, and maybe you can get some guys out of the CFL that were backups or guys that are backups at the NFL that just want a chance to play, and maybe it'll get better that way. But in the end, I just want to see players get paid.
I do agree. I think the AAF should go do what the Jets did in '69 and sign Cam Newton to a huge contract.
Why?
Because that's probably where he belongs.
Well, that's mean. There's a lot of guys that belong there before him. I get
but you
to say
think a
this.
guy like Cam Newton who could turn this league around, like Namath turned the AFL around.
And I just want to say this.
All right,
with
we
the
beat this horse
AAF,
into the ground.
with the AAF, I hope they make it. The only reason this is being brought up, and the only reason I think they're in trouble is this. When you were told not to talk about it, but then the league won't talk about it. There's nothing on their website. To me, that tells me there was an issue. That seems obvious because we see a lot of stories like the Covcath kids where it's proven to be wrong, but it's proven to be wrong within 24 hours later, usually 6 to 12 hours later, because if somebody's telling a lie about you, you want to get out and stop it right away. This tells me they're trying to get a story or they're trying to hope it goes away. Bobby, on this day.
Hey, Mike?
Yeah.
Well, just real quick, I want to just add one thing because it's kind of up my alley with the sports betting. I did see an article the next day, or I think today's the next day, or it's the second day. I don't remember, but I mean, it was right after I saw an article. The guy that put the $250 million in, that one of his big things that really drew him to this league was the sports betting aspect of it. Yeah. And that's kind of what I alluded to a little bit ago, that they're going to get into the live betting really big time. Like you'll be able to go online and bet whether this drive will end in a touchdown, whether this third down will be converted. They've got players wearing things on their body. It's just interesting what they're going to try to do with the sports betting. I think they're trying to capture the legalization of sports betting and put it into their league. And I think he is thinking that, it's all going to go hand in hand. And we're going to get
Bobby, let me ask you a question on that, Bobby. Do you do sports book, and do people bet on things they don't know about? I don't know any players in the AAF. I can't name 3 players that are playing in the AAF. Am I going to bet on players that I don't have any familiarity with, or say, you know what, that Antonio Brown's going to catch this pass? He does it all the time. Luck's going to complete this drive. Brady, I'm going to bet on Brady because Brady is going in the fourth quarter with 80 yards to go. I'm going to bet that Brady's going to make this because he does all the time. Would people be willing to bet on the AAF when I don't think anybody knows any players or anything about the AAF? Is that going to be a good sports bet for you?
Well, football is the number one sport that is bet on, and it's by far. And so the fact that it's
because all the players,
the Vegas books, they were really shocked at the first couple of weeks that they've taken the volume that they've taken. So the interest is there to bet on the league. There's no doubt about that so far. It's been above what they expected. But the sports betting aspect that I think that they're really trying to hone in on is the live betting part of what we're talking about. They're developing things like on their app that's live, like to the millisecond of what's really happening on the field.
Right.
And they've already got the technology to put in place in relation to sports betting to be able to put this in. So I think they're trying to draw, viewership that way. They're trying to tap into something that the NFL won't do yet. The NFL won't put that
but
in.
I guess our question is, can the league sustain itself long enough to get all states involved in being able to do that?
That's the thing, and I think this guy's betting $250 million.
There you go. If you're putting $250 million
I really do.
in the first week of the season, not likely you're going to be able to sustain until all states, because I guarantee Indiana won't approve this crap until about 2027 or 8. Chris, they just finally got the ability to sell liquor on Sundays in Indiana.
Yeah.
So it's not going to happen quickly enough for a team that's asking for $250 million investment in its second week that they can sustain long enough to. That's a good business model. I give you that. And I think you're going to see a lot more of that go that way. That, I have a friend who's figured out a way to do figure 8 racing and local track racing and have drivers and do pari-mutuel betting on it. And he wanted to start this company up 10 years ago, but you didn't have the ability to do it. All of a sudden now it's kind of like racetrack racing. You can take, short track races in local neighborhoods or local communities and say, you can do pari-mutuel betting at the window, who's going to win today. And, but until there's only just a handful of states that have approved it now, you're years away from that being,
we're
that better than
right
I
now.
do. 8 and
so
we've got, so it's 42 more to go.
42 more to go, and until those guys get there, we just got it all going to the offshore books and Vegas and to the guy in the bar. It's still happening. It's just but as soon as it gets legalized, it's going to be just huge because there's a lot of people like we talked about before that aren't going to send their money to offshore and they're not going to go to Vegas and they don't want a bookie.
Hey,
my answer to that is,
speaking of betting, Bobby, who's your top play for tonight?
Yeah, let's move on. Yeah,
well,
I agree.
Very interesting. Yeah, it's good stuff. And guys, there's the NBA starts back up tomorrow, and that's gonna take some more of my. We're gonna be able to add some more stuff, but we do have 4 college plays today, and 2 are top plays, and then 2 are regular plays. And the difference between the 2 is that a top play is I'm indicating to you that game is worth more money, is worth more of your. If you have whatever your bankroll is, and you bet, let's just say a top play might be 3% of your bankroll or something like that, and hopefully that's still a decent number to make some money. That's the right way to do this. To where a regular bet might be 1% or 1.5% or something like that. So what I'm saying is it's worth more money. And I've got 2 that are worth more money, 2 top plays and 2 regular plays. And a lot of people will like to take, for instance, a regular play and they like to bet parlay. A 14 parlay pays 11 to 1, guys. And I got 4 out there tonight. And I know a lot of people will put, $100 on that, and that's $1,100 when that comes in, and so I always like to have a couple other solid games to go along with the top plays, and we have that tonight. We've got. I'm gonna give the whole card out right now. I don't like when things don't come through, And yesterday I tweeted about this, and thanks for giving me a chance to talk about my philosophy a little bit because it's important. I tweeted about this. We had 3 games yesterday, and we went 0-3. And no one's more transparent than me. I call it when we win, we talk about it. When we lose, you got to talk about it. It is what it is. And we were 0-3, and then it's the first donut we've had in a long time. And it doesn't feel good, when you go 0-3 and people are expecting you to be better than that. And we were on 2 games last night, and I had people saying, we didn't get a break in those 2 games. Well, no, we didn't get a break, but my job isn't to be on the 50-50 games. It's the last 30 seconds and the point spread, it can go either way. I'm not trying to be on that game. The game I'm trying to be on is a game that's one way or the other already decided in our favor, and so we didn't deserve that last night. And so we got beat, and so what you do is you don't get emotionally too upset. You hopefully haven't risked enough of your bankroll to where you're not firing any bullets tonight. And that's the way you make money over a week, over a month, over a year. And you just come right back the next day and go 3-1, And so that's what we're going to try to do. And we're going to try to go 4-0. And we got Syracuse as a small favorite over Louisville. And I've got it on the sheet at -2, and I'm going to pull up the lines right here in a second. Updated lines. I wasn't on that because I was part of the discussion this morning with the AAF, but we got Syracuse as a small favorite over Louisville, and key to that game is that Syracuse is a non-ranked team playing a ranked team. And when that non-ranked team is favored, it's about a 62% play over years and years of research on that stat. So you're going to want to be on Syracuse if you can. And we dug deeper into that, and they're a pretty good play tonight. And we've got Xavier plus the points, plus about 5. Oh, Xavier, that's correct, Mike. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to break that. We got Xavier over Seton Hall tonight plus 5, and I wouldn't bet the money line there, but I think that's going to be a very close game tonight and a very good ball game to watch if you like watching that conference. And then our top plays though were kind of like yesterday. We were on the Big Ten, and we missed both ends of that, and we're going to be on the Pac-12 tonight. We got both ends going. They're twin top plays, and they're both later starts. We got Stanford at 6:00 hour as a top play over Arizona State, and they're catching 7.5. And like I said, we'll get the new lines pull up here in a second. And that's a 6:00 start on the West Coast and 9 Eastern. And we got Utah on the late start of the board. 8:00 West, 11:00 Eastern. That's the last game on the board. We got Utah plus 8.5 over Washington. And what's going on in right now with the Pac-12 guys is it's pretty well known, and I'm sure you guys have talked about this on your shows with Brian. And the Pac-12 is only going to get one team. And so winning the Pac-12 conference this year is everything. And so the top 4 teams get a bye in the first round, and it's a huge advantage in a tournament that takes place over 3 days. We all know it's just a huge advantage to not have to play, when your opponents are playing that first day. And behind Washington right now, who's 11-1, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams all vying for the next 3 spots, all within a game and a half. So the Pac-12's coming down to the wire for that 2, 3, 4 spot. And you got a team now that's really, really finding their best stride, and that's Stanford. Stanford is playing the best ball by far that they've played all year. And this is a team that had the least amount of home games of any Division I school as of, let's just say, 10 days ago. They only had like 4 games all year at home. It was an anomaly. It was a weird deal, and all their games are coming at home. Well, this happens to be a road game, but they've won 5 out of 6, and they've gotten themselves figured out. They got their point guard back, and he really makes it happen. He's a really good ball player. And watch that game tonight. He's one of the better point guards, out there, and his name is DeJean Davis, and he's back in the lineup, and they had 5 guys that are getting double figures now the last 2-3 ball games, and they're playing their best ball. It's talked about. It's the coaches. This is their asset test tonight. They're going to Arizona State, and this is a team that was supposed to be battling with Washington and actually did give Washington its only loss in the Pac-12. But this is a team that gave that loss to Washington 3 days after they lost by 20 to Washington State at home. Very helter-skelter team coached by Bobby Hurley of the old Duke days. So as we go into that ball game tonight, we dig a little deeper. Stanford beat these guys on January 10th, 75-61. It was a 40-38 halftime lead, really close game by Stanford. And Stanford went on a 12-0 run to start the second half and pulled away and never looked back. And it's a bad matchup for Arizona State. I don't like it. We dug into a lot of other numbers here, and I think Stanford's going to be able to control that game tonight, and I really like them tonight. And plus the 7.5, and you can take, and I'll pull it up here, probably about 3-1 on the money line. So I'm going to be on Stanford pretty heavy, and then we got Utah also. And just for time's sake, we won't go into all that, but I really like Utah tonight too. So we got 2 games, 2 Pac-12 underdogs tonight. 2 of those 6-7 teams trying to get in those last 3 spots in the top 4, and you're going to see 2 quality games tonight. No blowouts here. So we got the points to cover for us, and that's our betting board for tonight, guys. And I think that's a pretty solid one to bounce back from that 0-3, and hopefully that works for everybody.
All right. What do you got on this day?
On this day, before I roll it over to you, Mike, because the main on this day is 1976, Muhammad Ali had a bout against a Belgian boxer named Jean-Pierre Koopman, who I've never heard of. The fight was in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and we're going to turn the floor over to you on that in a second. But I wanted to mention something because it's relevant now to mention, and it might not ever be for a while. And something happened this week, and this just goes back to my Padre days when I was a young man and I was in their organization. Bruce Bochy was a minor league manager at the time. And, you know, the guy was just so impressive, the way he handled his ball clubs. I played on 2 of his ball clubs and was around him for a really, you know, good 6-8 months for 2 years. Got to know him, you know, obviously pretty well as my coach. And the day that I was released in 1990-91, I had arm trouble, and, you know, they were moving on from me. And I still got paid for a year after that, Steve, with the workman's comp and everything, and I got a payout on my elbow. That's a little side story here.
I got let go by Pfizer in 2009. I'm still getting paid. So what the hell? Good. I feel your pain.
Yeah. So, anyways, Bruce Bochy, you know, he said, Bobby, you know, when you get out of the meeting with Tom Romanesco, come see me. And you know, you don't want to get called in. At that time, it was Tom Romanesco, who was the director of player personnel. You don't want to get called in because you're going home. This is during spring training, and you know, I went in to see Bruce Bochy, and I was nobody, guys. I was a minor leaguer that had promise, but a couple failed elbows, and he pulled me aside, and you know, he was a little bit emotional with me too, because he you know, it's an emotional time for a ball player when that happens, and he was just so, I'll never forget it, you know. And so anyways, Bruce Bochy was, he's retiring after this year. That's the lead in for any of the listeners that didn't know that. It's the famous Giants manager who's going to be in the Hall of Fame. He's going to be retiring this year. This will be his last year. And the Giants aren't sitting on one of their better teams. They're projected to finish 4th in that league. And I'm pulling for them to make one more run at it. You know, they got this, you know, they got 3 World Series in this decade. But anyways, he's stepping down. Dodger guy came in. They're starting a new chapter there, and this is the way it's going to end for Bochy on his own terms. But I had a story real quickly. I was playing for him in 1989, and Donnie Moore. This was the year that Donnie Moore killed himself. The Angel pitcher who gave up the home run to Dave Henderson in '86, and one of the most famous home runs given up in the playoffs, you know, ever. One of those that you'll talk about and you'll hear about is because it turned the whole deal around, and they lost that series, and Boston played the Mets in the World Series, and that's the famous Buckner World Series. Well, Donnie Moore had just shot himself, and I had gone down into the clubhouse in Spokane, Washington, and this was at their stadium. They had, you know, really good facilities because it was a AAA stadium, you know, from years past, and I came back up. I had heard that on the radio, and I was the only guy down there. And this is before cell phone, before internet, right? You know, all that. You know, you just go down. I heard on the radio update, you know, 10 and 15 after the hour and all that stuff. I came back up, and I ran into Bochy. He was right at the top part of where you come up, and you know, I'm just a 21-year-old guy. You know, I said, "Hey, Boch, I was just down in there, and I heard that Donnie Moore just killed himself. I mean, that's terrible." I didn't know. Donnie Moore was like one of his best friends. Like the families traveled in the off season together and spent time and da-da-da-da. And he, oh man, I mean, you just imagine. I felt terrible being the one to tell him, but I didn't know. And he knew I didn't know. He sat down on the dugout right there, and he didn't get up for 2 innings. You know, and minor league managers coach third base, you know, and so we sent out a coach out there, and Bruce had, you know, excused himself for a little while. And it was a big, so it's one of my little inside stories. You know, I was the guy that told him that. But Bruce Bochy, just to finish off this story, was one of the finest guys ever, a complete natural. Everybody knew he was going to be successful. The Padres got him. He had a good run there with them. 98 took him to the World Series, and everybody knows about what he's done in San Francisco. So that was just my little Bruce Bochy.
How about this, Bobby? Since he basically was known as a Padre at one point, he's supposed to retire after this season. With Machado going to the Padres and them looking like they might be loaded again here over the next few years, do you think there's any chance that Bochy could come back and become the manager of the Padres again?
Yeah, I do, Mike. That is just so great. You know, I'll pull a thing from Steve. That's genius right there, because This is the last year. The Giants are moving in a different direction, but he's a Hall of Fame manager. You don't can those guys. So you go, okay, we're going one more year, and the Padres are in complete not only rebuild with a great farm system, but they now go out and they're announcing themselves right here and now, like what you just said. And Bruce Bochy came out and he said, "Look, I'm not done with baseball. You're going to see me around baseball. I'm not going off into some pasture and you'll never hear from me again." Almost like he alluded to something coming around the corner. And my thoughts on the Padre job for next year was going to be Mike Scioscia. That Scioscia would take a year off and maybe take that Padre gig, because it's not going to be Green, the guy they got now. I do not believe he's the one that'll be winning that division title with them unless it's this year, because this is it for him, I believe. And so, yeah, Bochy coming back to San Diego. He was loved in San Diego, guys. Loved. He went on his own up to San Francisco on his gut feeling. And he tweeted about this the other day. You look up his Twitter. He said, "I went there on a gut feeling, and I'm retiring on 3 World Series championships, and I loved every moment of it up here." That's where his family lived before. His son, Brett, I knew a little bit. But he went to school up there, and they lived up there. So Bochy went home. But now to come back to the Padres to finish it off, what a story that is. And you know what? If that happens, we'll all remember where that came out first, because I have not read anything about that until you just said that. And, I follow baseball very, very closely. You guys will see that when the season comes around. It's by far I'm the most focused in on than any sport that I bet on. And that's my job, is to be focused on what's going on. College basketball, guys, is about 5th or 6th for me. That's the truth. So great comment, Mike. Great comment. Take the floor on Muhammad Ali.
All right.
Wait. Before we do that, can I do something real quick here before you do that? Because you're going to take a long story. Let me do the rest of it.
It'll be short, and it's funny.
Real quick. 72, Daytona 500. Foyt wins race by 2 laps. Television took care of that. You'll never have another driver win a race again by 2 laps.
Yeah.
Because television will create scenarios that will bunch you up and keep you tied up so nobody will ever get a lap ahead. But it was pretty commonplace in those days in NASCAR, where drivers would win by 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6, 7 races. But once television got into the sport, you'll see those days of anybody winning by more than 10 feet are gone. 77 Daytona 500, the big story there was Janet Guthrie, first female driver. She was an absolute pioneer for auto racing for females. She actually was a NASA-trained astronaut, and she finishes 12th.
Wow.
Had an average finish of, I think, about 6. There's actually a great documentary on Fox Sports 1.
I've seen it.
On Janet Guthrie and her career.
Didn't she run in the Indy 500 also?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She ran in the Indy 500. Yeah. First female driver to win. Yeah. She's a pioneer for the sport. Actually, her uniform and helmet are at the Smithsonian. That's how important she was to females' involvement into what was once a male-dominated sport. 83, Cale Yarborough wins. The big thing there, I see you got their in-car camera. First time you ever got the ability to watch it from the driver's view of what's going on. CBS pioneered that. It also was his second win of a 3 race where he won Daytona 3 years in a row. Or he won NASCAR 3 years in a row, but it was the second win in Daytona, which was, only one of the drivers ever done that. 84, the sad story there was Sterling Marlin won it, but the fact that Neil Bonnet and Rodney Orr were killed. Neil Bonnet's an incredible story because he was like Dale Earnhardt's brother. And he had quit racing because basically he had enough wrecks. I think, the consensus was he had concussions, probably had a little CTE going that we didn't know anything about at that point in time. But when Dale formed DEI, he got Neil to come back and ride for him. And he actually died driving a Dale Earnhardt car, which, when those guys were that close, because they were hunting buddies. They went out on their own. And it was a very crushing blow to Dale Earnhardt because he felt always that he was the incident that coaxed Neil Bonnet to come back into racing. Birthdays, Bobby Unser. Lore may be one of the only drivers ever to win the Indy 500 drunk off his ass. That's Lore. Roger Penske, member at Augusta. Clyde Skeeter Wright, left-handed pitcher. Played for, who do y'all play for?
Angels.
Angels, Rangers, and Brewers. 100 wins, 111 losses. Pitched a no-hitter, though, on 7/3/1970. Google's a wonderful
sure
thing.
Did. With the
Charles
Angels,
Barkley.
Yep.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, unless my memory's fading me, which I don't think it is, he threw the first California in Anaheim Angels no-hitter.
The first Anaheim no-hitter?
Yes, first one in, California Angels, and then, Ryan threw 4 in about 4 years. Yeah.
Right. Barkley just turned 56. I think his waist size is bigger than that. And Justin Verlander, I hate this guy because he's married to Kate Upton. Mike, it's all yours.
Great job, Steve.
Yeah, it was outstanding, Steve. All right.
Mike, Muhammad Ali.
Top that, Goodpaster.
Oh, I can top this. Muhammad Ali, Jean-Pierre Koopman.
Stories.
Koopman may be the worst man to ever fight for the heavyweight title. And there was always rumors that Koopman was seen drinking champagne before the fight, which would top your NASCAR story because he didn't fight Muhammad Ali. He just drove a car drunk. But Koopman was outweighed by like 20 pounds by
And that's
Ali.
urban legend. It's not validated.
Well, mine is validated. So, and it's validated that he did not drink champagne before the fight. But it is also validated that he admitted to this, and I've read it in numerous accounts of the fight, that he did drink champagne in between rounds. And they asked him about it. And the funny thing was this. Ali always did the clowning. He'd talk shit to guys and everything and stare at them. And they asked Koopman's manager if that would faze Koopman. And he said, well, shit, no, it won't. He can't speak English. He doesn't even know what Ali's saying. But when they asked him about it a few years after the fight, he said, yeah, I drank champagne in between rounds. And you can, if you watch this fight, you can see them with a bottle, and he's not spitting out water. He is drinking champagne by the gallonful in between rounds. And they asked him about it, and he said, well, it just relaxed me while I was getting my ass pummeled.
Yeah, and this was 76.
Yeah. It was on
Thrill
network
Manila.
TV. I think Tom Brookshire and Pat Summerall actually called the fighter, Brent Musburger. So it was the old NFL guys.
Yeah, CBS.
Yeah, on CBS. But
on CBS.
So that's about the only thing we can pull out of that fight because Jean-Pierre Koopman couldn't whip me or Steve. And Steve's really weak at fighting because I've watched more and more 1981 Indiana basketball, and he shoves guys, but then he gets the hell out of the way when it looks like somebody might punch him.
Hey, here's rule number 1 about that whole crap. He who fights and runs away lives to fight another day.
But they still will
That's
be gay.
right.
All right. Let's see. We're going to wrap the show up.
I got updated lines, Mike.
Tomorrow.
Updated lines. Updated lines real quick because I said I would tell the listeners everything's the same, and this is not normal. That the overnights have stayed the same. Syracuse is -2 guys. Xavier, I said it right, is +5. I don't recommend taking the money line on that game.
Is that at
195?
Xavier?
But no, they're on the road.
Ooh, okay.
They're on the road at Seton Hall, and we got the 2-pack. Pac-10, Pac-10, it's the Pac-12 now. Stanford is still 7.5. You can take a little bit of this money line. I said 3-1. It's +280, so almost 3-1. And then the other one is Utah's +8.5. And I wouldn't take the money line here, but I think it's going to be a very close game. They're +318 on the money line. So the lines are the same.
All right.
Same. Okay. So
very
there
good,
you go.
Bobby. I want to remind everybody we will be back tomorrow with Evelyn Magley, for CEO and Commissioner of the TBL. And the good thing about her is this. I've always admired people that were Mr. Basketball in the state of Indiana, and I think she's married to one, isn't she, Steve?
Dave Magley, yeah. Kansas Jayhawk, 1978, I believe, Mr. Basketball.
Yeah, so see, the best I could do here is like the guy that came in 4th, but I get to at least talk to somebody that knows of Mr. Basketball tomorrow.
Hey.
Come on, Steve. That was fun.
No,
I will jump
I played with many Mr. Basketballs. I mean, it's no big deal. I got ripped off, and they gave it to Tolbert.
Yes.
They gave it to Tolbert because the coach took you out at halftime. Coach took you out at half. You would have had a 50.
No,
they gave it to Tolbert because Tolbert was really freaking good.
He was good, and I was a public relations nightmare, if you can just imagine.
He lost to a 5'2" center in Aurora.
I'm the antithesis of Donald Trump. I don't believe in walls. So, unfortunately, I just say what I think.
Well, you weren't Mr. Basketball, good, Steve. You weren't Mr. Basketball, but
you're Bobby's Mr. Indiana, Basketball.
top 100 Indiana players in that list. You were ranked 80th when I looked up that list, and I think you were 80th, Steve. I'm doing it off of memory, but that's unbelievable.
I wrote the list.
Just keep swelling my head. Go ahead. Just keep
I wrote the list. It didn't count. Risley
which
gave
is
me
the last
20.
thing that Goodpaster wants to hear.
Oh God! I just know that Tim Johnson was better than you on that day. All right, guys.
He was better that day. He was better that day. I give you that. He was better that day.
Tim Johnson was a bad dude. Just because he went to Aurora.
Did he make the All-Star team?
I think it was second team. He was only a junior that year.
But he did he make the All-Star team the next year? The Indiana All-Star team?
I think it was second team, and he made the All-States All team.
In other words, what you're saying is he didn't make the team.
No, because he played at Aurora. He didn't play at Lawrence Central with the big PR machine of Indianapolis there. He was stuck at Southeastern Indiana.
Bobby Plump made the All-Star team, and he played at Milan.
He won the
smaller
state
than Aurora.
championship. Unfortunately, Tim Johnson didn't get to play against Lawrence Central in the Elite Eight. So. All right, so Emma Magley, the CEO and Commissioner of the TBL.
If everybody doesn't know, the TBL is the basketball league, which is a fledgling grassroots basketball league that is starting up that has done extremely well.
Too.
And after the conversation we had today about how things may not be going right for the AAF, I think you'll find that the business model of the TBL is probably a little stronger, and they're a little more realistic in their expectations.
It's a lot easier to do it with basketball than it is football, too, Steve.
I agree entirely, because you do not have to have the crowd, and there's not the equipment expenses and things of that nature. But we'll hear from what she thinks, how this league is going and what's going on, and if there's anybody that can compete and create a grassroots basketball league in the United States of America. So, interesting conversation.
All right, guys, we're going to go wrap the show up.
And Mike.
What?
Mike, I just got a text. We do next week. We're going to have Sarah from spring training down in Florida. She's going to come on next Wednesday.
So we'll
if
have
you can
a
book her in.
live remote from spring training.
We'll have a live remote from spring training.
From the APC.
Sarah, Sarah Urban. We had on last week and really did well for us, and she's going down to spring training to work with some of her clients, and she has agreed to next Wednesday to come on and give us a live remote from the Grapefruit League, which I think is called, isn't it? That's not the Cactus League.
That's the Cactus League.
I think she's in Florida, so that's the Grapefruit League.
Oh, she's in Florida. Okay, that's right. She's Yankees, right?
She's in Florida, yeah. She's in Florida. And she'll give us a live update on what's happening. So we'll start diving into baseball and go from there. And then we'll really, be interested in what Bobby has to say, because Bobby claims his forte is baseball. And I am probably going to start betting on baseball with Bobby.
Baseball, so leave Bobby.
Oh, yes, Stephen.
And
no, I agree. I'm going to start betting with Bobby on baseball.
Wait a second.
I'm going to give him money every week and say, bet it for me.
If we let that go, it's going to keep happening with guests. Bobby, you cannot curse on the show, okay? This is your first warning.
Piss off.
All right. Remember, follow the Sheridan Report at Sheridan Report. Go find his website, thesheridanreport.com. Make sure, also, I just got a text. I have a Legends show now at 2:30. That's plenty of time to prepare. It'll be with a guy I've been trying to get forever who does not do interviews because he's kind of shy. But we will have former Cincinnati Bengal, 3-time Pro Bowl strong safety David Fulcher on the Legends show.
Oh, cool.
At 2:30.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm completely unprepared for that. But
I've been trying to get him
forever. Yeah, that'll be live.
I'm going to listen to that one.
I remember it all.
Can I get on with that with you, Mike? Can I get on that?
Can't get on it. He won't go on with
you. Hey, you jerk.
Okay.
I'm letting you on. We have Ted Kitchell tonight at 8 o'clock, and
I don't have to be on. I've got like 3 shows left to go today. If you don't want me on that one, I won't be on. I'm good.
You don't want to be on with Ted Kitchell?
It doesn't matter to me, dude. I already talk to a national champion every day Why would I be impressed with somebody
No,
else?
but this guy's a bona fide national champion who actually, if you take Colin Mine's career point scoring, he's doubled them single-handedly.
All right. Also, on Friday, another Legend show with former Detroit Lion, L.A. Ram wide receiver Jeff Chadwick, who had over 400 receptions in his career back in the 1980s for the Detroit Lions. We will have him on at 10 o'clock Eastern in the morning. That's pretty early. But we're going to do it anyway.
Mike?
What?
Mike?
What?
If you keep having these guests on, you're going to screw the Survive in Advance show as being the most listened to show on the Grueling Truth Network.
Well, you
can't
do
keep
realize that the tagline for the Grueling Truth is where the legends speak. So we have an NFL Legends show. And also, I'm in talks with getting Dave Parker on our Baseball Legends show. So there you go.
Mike, is that 2:30 Eastern?
Yeah, that'll be 55 minutes from now. So I got to get off here and do a refresher course real quick because
good stuff, Mike.
It doesn't matter. He's a Bengal, so I'll know everything about that. I am the foremost Cincinnati Bengals historian. And
Mike, you made a great statement there. I'll just close with this. He's a Bengal, not a bungle. So there you go.
Well, see, you know what, Steve? When you constantly mock my team, shit like this happens. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap the show up. Remember, you can hear all of our show. And also, don't forget, Ted Kitchell tonight on Indiana Basketball Weekly with Cole Hanna, Colin Hartman, and Steve Risley. I'm going to be watching Shameless at that point. And at 11 o'clock tonight...
It's a good episode. I already watched it. It's a great episode.
At 11 o'clock tonight...
Fiona's going off the deep end.
Okay, just shut up, because I'm in love with Fiona. But at 11 o'clock tonight... I know. Are you going to shut up? Now you're just doing it because I got David Fulcher and you're all butthurt. And remember last time you got all butthurt because
I want to be on that.
Sam White?
I want to talk to David Fulcher.
You don't know enough to talk about David Fulcher.
You're
just
Google
a color
it real quick.
guy. You're just a color guy. Actually, there's not.
That
when you Google,
stings. That hurts.
Hey, you're the one that said it. And the other thing is this: if you Google David Fulcher, you'll get a very small Wikipedia page because he really doesn't do interviews. So. Luckily, I do.
That hurts.
You don't.
All right.
But all right. So, color guy, be quiet. We're gonna wrap the show up. We got color guy, betting guy, and myself, the genius. All right, guys. Remember, you can hear all of our shows on iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, wherever you find sports podcasts. You'll find the Grueling Truth. So, for Bobby Sheridan, Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to the Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.